Chapter 71. It is better to deny yourself. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Fan was ready. Since he didn't have the spirit root, he must continue to become stronger. Son, that was such a pity. You are so talented in martial arts, but you didn't have the spirit root. It is really regrettable. The man standing behind Lin Fan sighed, showing a regretful look. But looking at his expression, it didn't seem to be comforting at all. I know that you really want to enter Immortal Gate, but the reality is so cruel. Watch me, I will enter Immortal Gate in your stead. Son, don't talk too much, it's your turn. The man behind Lin Fan walked forward with his head held high. Lin Fan glanced at that man. He is an asshole. Lin Fan thought gradually. It wasn't too long before a heartbreaking voice was heard from afar. How can I not have the spiritual root? I don't believe it. That sounded a bit familiar. Wasn't he the man who just made fun of Lin Fan? It may be he was too arrogant, and God felt he was quite unpleasant. After leaving the assessment site, Lin Fan returned to the inn and took the horse on foot to walk on the street. He could not join Immortal Gate without the spirit root, but he was not disappointed at all. He even felt that he was so talented in martial arts, and he was quite happy to know his martial arts qualifications for free. When he arrived at the gate of the city, a lot of people gathered around it. A man was standing on the wall. He was the man from the assessment earlier. Why? He suddenly roared, and then he cursed God for not giving him the spirit root. He couldn't accept the reality and go back to his home so casually. Whenever the assessment begins, will we always find someone dead in Lucheng? Do you think this is because of feng shui? Everyone suddenly talked about it. Lin Fan didn't pay much attention to that matter and left. But there were too many people watching that man, and it was difficult to pass through. Lin Fan didn't want to watch that man died in front of his eyes, because he hasn't prepared for a situation like that. Lin Fan tried to persuade that man to regain his sense. He talked to that man that he had a bright future ahead with his martial arts skills. Lin Fan even explained about himself, that Lin Fan was also talented in martial arts, even more talented than that man, but he also couldn't enter the Immortal Gate either because he didn't have the spirit root. But that crazy man invited Lin Fan to die together with him instead of stopping his attempt to suicide. Lin Fan also explained that he wouldn't die if he jumped from that height because he was a talented person in martial arts. But Nav I want to die now. Whether I will die or not if I'm jumping from this height, it has nothing to do with you. I will jump 100 times, even 1,000 times till I die. Lin Fan looked at Qin Heng and pondered, maybe there was something he could do. Why bother? If you want to die so much, then I can help you, and you just need to follow me. I promise you can die easily. In that case, let's see what that man will do. Chapter 72. You son of a, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Heng came down from the wall and followed Lin Fan. The people were very disappointed because the show got cancelled. Where did those people even come from and why did they like to see something bad happen? They both left Chaolu City and headed to a dense forest in the suburbs. Lin Fan looked back at Qin Heng, where are you from? Being helpful could cheer up someone. Qin Heng, a son from Qin family in Dazhou City. Qin Heng was distraught, and his mind was full of the spirit root problem. He couldn't imagine what will his family say to him when he came back and said that he didn't have the spirit root. Qin Heng regretted that being a talented person in martial arts. He was so fast in cultivation. His spiritual power has reached 100 years. As a result, his family put high hopes in him. So he didn't dare to return to his family. So you are Qin Heng from Qin family, how old are you? Lin Fan asked. 20.6. Qin Heng said, and then asked, what are you asking? Are you not taking me to a place where I can commit suicide? Here. Qin Heng looked around, a bit puzzled. There are only trees or grass here. How can I commit suicide? Suddenly, Lin Fan pulled out his sword and looked forward with some hope. Engrave your name and age on the stone tablet now. Brother, I'm serious here, stretch your neck a bit, I will swing the sword so quick that you won't feel any pain. Lin Fan couldn't wait anymore. That man had 100 years worth of EXP. It would be great if Lin Fan could kill that man himself. You. Qin Heng was shocked and stared at Lin Fan. He didn't expect Lin Fan was seriously going to take his life, but his trauma about the spirit root overwhelmed his surprise. He really wanted to die. Later, Qin Heng really stretched his head and shouted, "Don't hesitate to slash my head. I have decided to die. No one can change my mind, kill me. My pleasure." Lin Fan held the sword tightly and was very excited. That was the best moment he'd ever encountered so far. He didn't need to put any effort, and there was no guilt. That was only to help each other. Come on. I'll be dead soon. Thank you in advance. I didn't expect to meet someone like you. Qin Heng said. Lin Fan laughed, you don't need to thank me. You will go all the way to heaven and be a person with the spiritual root in the next life. Qin Heng stretched his neck, closed his eyes tightly, his eyes were shaking, although he wanted to die. When he was facing death for real, he suddenly felt fear in his heart, but he suppressed that fear and shouted. Come on, kill me. Lin Fan took a deep breath, okay, here I go. But Qin Heng suddenly shouted, wait. I want to change the angle. This angle is not very good. Okay, let's change the angle. Lin Fan was not in a hurry and had enough patience to wait for Qin Heng to be ready. After all, Lin Fan will kill him in the end. Qin Heng stretched his neck again, and his palms were all sweaty. Come on. I'm ready this time. You have to kill me instantly. I am really worried. Okay, rest assured. Lin Fan lifted up his sword again, then swung it quickly. As expected of someone with 100 years of experience in martial arts, Qin Heng could feel the incredible attack was coming when Lin Fan swung the sword, and it sent chill down to his spine. He even blocked Lin Fan's attack. What's the matter? Lin Fan asked. Qin Heng's breathing was not stable, and he waved his hand and said, nothing, it just feels a bit wrong. Because when you chop off my neck, my head will fall down, but the ground is dirty, and I'm a noble, I can't afford to look dirty even in my death. Okay, you can do whatever you want. I respect your thoughts. Lin Fan calmed down and endured the anger. He must be patient, and he couldn't afford to make any movement that could change Qin Heng's mind to suicide because of Lin Fan's bad attitude. Qin Heng found a clean place, and the ground was covered with grass. He was very satisfied with it. Yeah, let's do it here. I don't have a spiritual root. Even if I return to my family, I will be a joke for them. Instead of being a joke, I'd rather die. What he said was true. Lin Fan didn't say anything, he swung his sword extremely fast, but when the sword was about to touch Qin Heng's neck. Wait. Lin Fan could pretend he did not hear it, but he was not that kind of person. What's wrong with you? In the end, you still want to live. If you don't want to die, you should have said it from the beginning. Don't waste my time. Qin Heng sweated a lot, he was very nervous and panicked. I do want to die, but when you swing the sword, and I know that I will die, at that moment, I am so afraid. Maybe you are right, I am wasting time. I really want to die, but my heart is telling me that I am afraid of death. Or, you can follow me for a while, let me come to terms with my fear and overcome it, and then you can kill me. Qin Heng's idea was a joke. Lin Fan sheathed his sword and scolded him, you son of a. I have never seen someone who is as indecisive as you, so go ahead, return to your family and be a joke for a lifetime. I'm done with you. You should go find someone else. I don't have time for you. Lin Fan was so angry. Qin Heng was embarrassed and felt guilty. Brother, I'm sorry, that I disappoint you. I know you just want to help me, but I can't get through this for the time being. Lin Fan looked at Qin Heng without saying anything. It would be better for Lin Fan if he didn't take Qin Heng seriously and decided to stroll instead. Maybe if Lin Fan was lucky, he could encounter a demon hiding somewhere. Suddenly, just as Lin Fan was about to leave, there was a voice around. Interesting. Traveling through the world was worth the trouble. I can meet such an interesting bunch of people. Chapter 73. I will train you well. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Who's there? Who? Those two looked at the same time. They didn't see anybody as far as they could see. They looked up and found a white bearded old man who was standing on the white clouds slowly descended from the sky. Immortal. Immortal. Qin Heng was surprised and saw the old man with the dazzling golden light emerged from behind him as if the immortal descended from the sky. He didn't have the spirit root and didn't qualify the assessment. He was already discouraged. But now the true immortal came before him, he was hoping for a second chance. Qin Heng didn't say anything, bowed down, and shouted, Qin Heng, a son of the Qin family in Dazhou City, here I am bowing and begging you to take me as your apprentice. I would like to serve and listen to your teachings. The opportunity has come, that was the only chance for him. Although he didn't know who that old man was, the way the old man showed up was not something a normal human could do. He must be from Immortal Gate, and in a high position too. He and Lin Fan didn't have the spirit root. The seniors didn't come to both of them for no reason. It must be because both of them had talents in martial arts, and the senior wanted to make them as his disciples. They wouldn't miss that chance. Even being a servant for the senior was better than returning to his family and being ridiculed by the clan members. The old man was shocked. Before the old man had a chance to say anything, Qin Heng was kneeling on the ground. It was too fast. Lin Fan didn't say anything when he saw Qin Heng was kneeling. It was a sight one could see on any day. Lin Fan observed carefully. Although he didn't know anything about Immortal Gate, but he could see the senior's information. Feng Shao, longevity golden. Details. Fire spirit root shards, gold spirit root shards, 1800 years worth of cultivation, Gung Jin Xian sword art, fire god, golden smoke, and demon magic manipulation. Lin Fan looked at the senior's details, and it was something unbelievable. And 1,800 years worth of cultivation. Lin Fan's current cultivation was only over 100 years. Moreover, that was the spiritual power cultivation, and there should be a big gap between it and martial arts cultivation. Lin Fan minded his manner because of what he saw. But the problem was a bit more complicated. What made a big shot like that old man came to see them personally, to ask why both of them were so handsome? Impossible. Lin Fan was afraid it might lead him to something bad. Maybe the old man wanted them to be his experimental subject. I like your determination, young man. The old man said, and then he looked at Lin Fan, why don't you beg me to take you in like him? Lin Fan couldn't figure out what that old man meant. Lin Fan just said, I'm not interested in entering Immortal Gate. Plus, I don't have the spirit root. I'm going back to my hometown to work on the farm. Senior, I think he will be more suited to be your disciple, and I hope you will accept him instead of me, now if you excuse me. Lin Fan wanted to run away, but couldn't afford to act recklessly. Anyway, with the system, it was better for Lin Fan to follow the flow. Qin Heng looked at Lin Fan gratefully and was about to cry. He did not expect that there was such a good person in that world. Not only was Lin Fan willing to help him commit suicide, but Lin Fan was actively recommending him. Senior, I sincerely want to serve you, please take me with you. In order to enter Immortal Gate, Qin Heng will throw away his dignity and pride. He will say anything to enter Immortal Gate. The old man pondered for a moment as if he was moved by Qin Heng's determination and said, "Seeing you are so determined, I couldn't help but accept you, and you will come with me to Immortal Gate." After hearing that, Qin Heng was shocked and then shouted, "Long live master." "Well, yes, my name is Feng Jiuzhen." Feng Jiuzhen was very pleased, and suddenly, when he saw Lin Fan was sneaking away, he could not help but said, "Young man, where are you going?" Lin Fan tried to escape without anyone noticing him. He did not expect to be found out, and suddenly he smiled awkwardly, "Senior, I don't care about Immortal Gate at all, so I won't disturb your moments here." Feng Jiuzhen stared at Lin Fan. He did not expect Lin Fan to refuse his offer. If Lin Fan was normal, he would not escape. Feng Jiuzhen smiled and said, "I'm so surprised. Although you don't have the spirit root, in my opinion, you are the only genius in this world. Originally, I have to wait for the genius to undergo trials, but the two of you have some faith with me, and I want to take you on the path of immortals. How can I give up on you?" Lin Fan rolled his eyes and didn't believe what the old man said. But after hearing those words, Qin Heng couldn't keep his cool any longer and cried on the spot. "L.RG, I knew that I was a genius, even though I don't have the spirit root. When I heard Master's words, I suddenly realize I really am a genius, and I will stand at the top. Now, I am fortunate enough to receive Master's order, and I will serve you my whole life." Lin Fan glanced at Qin Heng. Lin Fan thought Qin Heng was such a na.ve man to believe in such words. It was because the old man knew that Qin Heng's family would ridicule him if he failed the test, so the old man exploited that condition to his own advantage. "Senior, I really want to go home and to work on a farm, all of that doesn't suit me at all." Lin Fan left, saying that he will not go with the old man. Lin Fan knew the old man was a dangerous man with 1800 years worth of cultivation. Feng Jiuzhen squinted his eyes and muttered in his heart, that Lin Fan was a bit difficult to deal with. Didn't Lin Fan know who the old man was? That wouldn't work. It was lucky enough to come across with a rare talent, how could he just give up like that? It's useless. Just follow me already. We are fated to meet each other. Both of you will miss a big chance in your life if you do not come with me," the old man said. Lin Fan felt that his body was out of control as if being pulled by some power, and Feng Jiuzhen flew toward the sky. In contrast, Qin Heng was full of excitement. "Cultivation of immortals, I can be an immortal." Lin Fan shouted, "Senior, this chance will be wasted on me." Feng Jiuzhen calmly said, "I will train you well." Chapter 74. Let's cultivate to become immortal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 74. Let's cultivate to become immortal. Qin Heng was unable to control his emotions. He was laughing like crazy. Perhaps after all the roller coaster of emotions that he has been through, he became too excited. What do you think? The senior is willing to take us to cultivate until we become the immortals. Why don't you seem happy at all? Qin Heng couldn't understand Lin Fan's mind. Qin Heng was very grateful at the moment. They agreed to let the old man help them cultivate it. They were really lucky. "I really want to go back." Lin Fan didn't want to talk to Qin Heng. That was that guy really stupid. Because the old man's origin was unknown, there was no telling what that old man might be to do. Qin Heng shook his head and said, "What's so good about working on the farm? It's better to follow our master." Lin Fan ignored Qin Heng and looked down carefully, and he found they were indeed sitting on a cloud. He wondered where the old man was going to take them. "Senior, where are we going now?" Qin Heng asked curiously. Feng Jiuzhen laughed and said, "We are going to the land of immortals. It will take years for the mortal to go there, and the closer they get, the more dangerous they are." Qin Heng was amazed. But for Lin Fan, he heard something different. It was like an old man was warning them while revealing as little information as possible. Lin Fan silently prayed in his heart. seeing they were flying really fast, but they couldn't feel the gust of wind at all. Normally, a human will die in that condition. He took a closer look. A thin layer of light curtain surrounded them. Maybe that was mana. Feng Zhouzhen explained again that it was impossible for a mortal to get in the land of immortals. Lin Fan was afraid of what Feng Zhouzhen was trying to do because the old man didn't let him go. Day and night. A few days later. Here, the land of immortal is up ahead. Feng Zhouzhen pointed to the distance. Qin Heng has been waiting for that moment, clenched his fists. He was full of excitement, he was about to scream, he took a deep breath, and always felt that the air there was so fresh, much fresher than the world he lived in. Lin Fan, who wasn't interested in it at all, looked up. On a huge mountain in the distance, there were many buildings. Not long after, Feng Zhouzhen and both of them landed at the entrance. Qin Heng planned to greet everyone in there. But Lin Fan frowned. He was a bit puzzled because that place was different from what he thought. "Welcome back, Master." At that time, 2 disciples came hurriedly to the entrance. "Well, you have been working hard when I'm not here, but is there any disciples going out?" Feng Zhouzhen asked. The disciples said, "I think no one came down from the mountain." "That's good. The outside world is too dangerous." Feng Zhouzhen sighed, and then said, "I recruited these 2 myself. You guys will take care of them?" "Yes, Master." The eyes of those 2 disciples looking at Lin Fan and Qin Heng were so weird, as if they felt some sympathy for Lin Fan and Qin Heng. Maybe that was sympathy for the trouble those 2 will have. Qin Heng was about to faint. He didn't expect the old man was one of the masters in that mountain. And he thought the way those disciples looked at him was because of jealousy. Lin Fan frowned, it was suspicious. The cultivation of those 2 disciples turned out to be still at the early stage. Hell, how could that be possible? The most important thing was that neither of them had the spirit root. Just like them, Lin Fan and Qin Heng could not cultivate without the spirit root. Qin Heng looked left and right with excitement and accidentally looked up to see the words on the gate. He was suddenly confused. "Master, aren't we Wuxian sect? How come it was written as Jiutian?" He remembered that the immortals in Chaolu City were from the Wuxian sect. Feng Zhouzhen said, "The 9 heavenly gates are taken from heaven and earth." Qin Heng nodded as if he understood. "Come on, change your clothes first, and I will take you to the ceremony." Feng Zhouzhen said. "Yes." Qin Heng was agitated. The ceremony, could that be dangerous? Feng Zhouzhen looked at those 2 newly recruited disciples, showed some kind act. On the distance, Lin Fan and Qin Heng walked side by side, then whispered, "Do you know what we are now?" "I know, and I'm going to cultivate to become the immortals," Qin Heng said excitedly. Lin Fan was talking to one of the escorts. "Big brother, can you tell me what is going on here?" "Don't ask anything. You will eventually understand," he whispered while looking around, making sure no one heard him. "You can rest assured that there will be no danger, it's just you can't go back to your home, that's it." "You were all forcibly recruited?" Lin Fan asked, looking at the other person's expression and knowing there was an unspeakable secret. He looked at Lin Fan, his expression was a bit complicated, and there were many things he wanted to say, but he held back. But the disciples thought they were lucky enough for not being able to return to the corrupted world down there. He felt comfortable there, and the master was good to them. Chapter 75. Entered. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Fan was quite helpless, although the old man didn't say anything, he already knew something in his mind. The so-called Jiutian sect was probably dangerous. Qin Heng also felt the architecture of Jiutian's sect was a bit different from the Immortal Gate, he thought. He thought maybe the master was a humble person, so the architecture was so shabby. Not long after, Yu, the senior disciples, and Lin Fan went to some building. It was not too shabby. It was a gorgeous one. This is where you will live in the future. You can't skip the class on weekdays. It's dangerous outside, not only demons, but there are also many bad people who specialize in cultivating evil technique. Then Yu patted Lin Fan's shoulder and said, "Brothers, don't think too much about it." "Thank you." What else could Lin Fan say? Yu said something very clearly. It was not impossible to escape, but it was too dangerous outside. Master instructed to escort you to the residence to attend the ceremony. Follow me. Yu said. For some reason, Yu looked to Qin Heng. Yu remembered how he felt the first time he arrived there. He felt Qin Heng was like him at that time. But later Yu regretted coming to the Jyotian sect. Qin Heng urged the senior disciples to move faster. He didn't want to let the master down. On the way, Lin Fan learned from Yu that there were only more than 100 disciples in the Jyotian sect. It was far less compared with other sections. Lin Fan was afraid he wouldn't be able to grow stronger. Led by Yu, they arrived at a decent building. "Come in." Feng Jiuzhen smiled immediately when he saw Lin Fan and the other two. "Master." Qin Heng just to keep praising Feng Jiuzhen, his eyes stared at the building that he didn't know what was inside. He imagined the possibilities. Although there was no special grand ceremony in there, it was so mysterious. At that time, Qin Heng quietly patted Lin Fan on the shoulder and said, "Did you feel very nervous?" "I was nervous, anyway." Lin Fan didn't want to talk to Qin Heng because Lin Fan had a hunch of the current situation. Inside the building. The lighting was not very bright. Feng Jiuzhen was already kneeling there, and several portraits were hanging on the wall in front of him. The portraits were so real as if they were the real person. "Ancestor, your disciple Feng Jiuzhen is here to introduce 2 disciples, and please bless and protect them." Feng Jiuzhen knelt down a few times, then got up and lit 3 incense sticks of unknown material in the incense burner. Then it turned back. "You too, come here to worship our old ancestors at Jyotian sect." Qin Heng respected the ancestors. He didn't even lift his head, and he knelt down on the futon. Qin Heng was almost crying. The ceremony was to worship the portrait of the ancestors, and there were more meanings in it. That was to teach the new disciples to be optimistic about the sect and gave their best effort to cultivate. But when Jiuzhen saw Lin Fan, he asked why Lin Fan didn't come to the altar. Lin Fan looked so hesitant to do that. Because Lin Fan realized every disciple there didn't have the spirit root. And Lin Fan thought it was impossible if they wanted to be immortals without the spirit root. Lin Fan wanted to escape, but he thought he might encounter danger from demons and other disciples' sect. But even if he had the spirit root in the future, he had to wait for the assessment. On the other hand, the situation of Jyotian sect showed that the disciples were all warriors even without the spirit root, and lived their life safely there. No danger occurred. Not to mention the old man in front of him was a good man. After thinking about that, Lin Fan sighed slightly. That's it. Lin Fan has already decided that he will stay there. Lin Fan came to the futon, like Qin Heng, he worshipped the ancestors to have their blessing and protection. Feng Jiuzhen smiled, looking at the scene. The first portrait was the founder of our sect, known as the 9 Heavens Emperor. His power is unparalleled in the world. The second portrait is the second in command. He is known as Gai Huaxian and has unique talents. The third. Qin Heng was amazed by those ancestors. In the future, he will also be called Qin Heng Emperor. And Lin Fan looked quite helpless. He just wanted to listen. Chapter 76. Open his own path. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The ceremony continued. Feng Jiuzhen didn't stop talking and bragging about the sect. Lin Fan looked so bored all the time. Finally, maybe Feng Jiuzhen felt that he had talked too much, he suddenly shut up without saying anything, which made Qin Heng very anxious. Why didn't Master continue to talk? He hasn't heard enough. The ceremony is over. From now on, you are Jyotian disciples. As long as you have our technique, you will not be in danger. Both of you should be grateful. Most people can't see your potential, but I have already seen it. Be sure to practice seriously on weekdays. Yes, please rest assured, I will certainly live up to Master's expectations. Qin Heng stared firmly at Fang Zhozhen. When he saw Qin Heng's gaze, he felt a little nervous. When Qin Heng knew the real condition, he didn't know if he could bear it. Immediately, the disciple came in, holding two things, a book about immortal. The first task is, read this book so that you can understand the immortal. Fang Zhozhen didn't say anything, which made the disciples felt that was strange. Fang Zhozhen used to praise the newcomer excessively. Back to inside. Lin Fan immediately reading immortal record. When he finished reading it, he felt something in his heart. He always wanted to know at what stage a person with a spirit root would be. From that book, he knew that the fifth stage was nothing to immortal. As long as someone had the spirit root, even if he did not have the power to kill a chicken, he could become powerful with an elixir in a blink of an eye. That elixir may be very common in the immortal world, but it was very precious in the mortal world. Sure enough, money is more deadly than people. People born with a gold spoon may be able to catch up with other people's hardships with just one elixir. Lin Fan sighed because he had to kill many people and demons to reach that stage. But for people without status, he was afraid it would take a lot of effort even to reach that stage. According to the immortal record, immortal had two realms. Initial realm and immortal realm. Initial realm was divided into 5 small realms. There were reshape body, reshape fate, reshape dantian, reshape sight, and unity of heaven and earth. Initial realm was not the cultivation of mana. Just like the name of the initial realm, cultivator needs to take off the mortal body as an initial step to become immortal. Only by reaching unity of heaven and earth, and absorbing the energy of heaven and earth, one could enter the path of immortal cultivation and embark on a lifelong journey. At the same time, according to the book, there were 9 realms of the immortal realm. Foundation immortal, destiny immortal, trinity immortal, golden immortal, tranquil immortal, establish immortal, disaster immortal, void immortal, true immortal. There was no additional information for those stages in the book. Perhaps Fang Zhozhen knew that it was useless to explain it since they could not cultivate it anyway. So it seems that Fang Zhozhen's real power is bad. Lin Fan thought. The true cultivator might realize Fang Zhozhen's true strength. But the people there were in a low stage, they wouldn't know about such things. If Lin Fan came across some trouble, he was afraid Fang Zhozhen might not be able to protect him. Lin Fan sat there thinking so hard. What to do next? His martial arts has already reached its peak, but he couldn't improve his spiritual power. It couldn't compare with the immortal's mana. Unless he could get the spirit root, or find the way to cultivate his martial arts even further. In the novel he was reading in the past, to be an immortal was through wisdom, but forget it, practice come first. Lin Fan said. Theory of confusion, that was the basic technique he must master first. Gradually, Lin Fan sat on the bed, settled, and started practicing the theory of confusion. But as time goes by, fuck, it's useless. Lin Fan tossed the book of theory of confusion away. Lin Fan stopped practicing, maybe it was too much for him. He must find a way to find a solution for today's training. Being stuck in the halfway was annoying. He pushed the door open. He went to Yu Yu. That man was an enthusiastic person, maybe Yu Yu had stayed there for too long. Yu Yu's residence. Lin Fan saw someone in the courtyard. Yu Yu took a hoe to soften the soil around. At the same time, there were some vegetables everywhere. Brother Yu, I hope I don't bother you. Lin Fan asked outside the courtyard. Yu Yu looked up and immediately smiled. It turned out that Brother Lin was here. I don't mind, come in. Inside the house. Lin Fan asked, Brother Yu, what would happen if I left here and go outside? Yu was making tea for Lin Fan. He heard Lin Fan's words and paused. Then he said, it is too dangerous outside, you will die for sure. Lin Fan kept asking whether he had a chance to become stronger or not in that place. But Yu laughed and told him if he himself couldn't be an immortal, then his descendant will have a chance through the information he accumulated. Lin Fan looked so helpless, and he said, what about the teaching in here? You can rest assured the teaching is really good, I have been here for 10 years. Our Jyotian sect is indeed immortal sect, but I don't know why this sect never recruits disciples with the spirit root. Lin Fan wondered if there was not spirit root, how could someone inherit that place? Yu wanted to escape when he thought about that, but he gave up when he knew the risk. Lin Fan pondered for a moment and knew what to do, then he thanked Yu. He was going to see Feng Zhozhen right after. He had to squeeze something from Feng Zhozhen himself. He had to open his own path. Chapter 77. The next generation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Inside the house. Feng Zhozhen sat, there was an abacus on the table in front of him, and his inflexible fingers calculated something using the abacus. 130 disciples, plus those 2 newcomers, 130.2 in total, this is gonna cost me a fortune. Last time, I got some spirit stones, and there aren't that many materials left. This is trouble. Feng Zhozhen was sad. Only a few people supported him to take care of the Jyotian sect, and some people would leave the sect to learn in another sect. But Feng Zhozhen didn't stop. Everyone had their own aspirations, and he only hoped that he would become an immortal. Of course, he also had thought about closing the Jyotian sect or turning it into a museum. But he didn't want to disappoint the ancestors, he didn't want when the ancestors paid a visit they found the sect was long gone. Feng Zhozhen, who was only 20 years old at that time, promised that he would certainly pass on the sect to the next generation. At a young age, he has already borne such heavy responsibility. And he also believed in what the ancestors told him. At that time, Lin Fan's voice was heard from outside. Master, are you here? Lin Fan wanted to ask Feng Zhozhen to have a little tour. He wanted to kill some demons if he could. Come in. Feng Zhozhen waved his sleeves, and the abacus on the table disappeared and was replaced with tea sets on the table and a cup of hot and aromatic tea. Then he was holding a teacup, drinking it leisurely. Lin Fan entered the house, and he saw Feng Zhozhen was drinking tea. He immediately laughed, Master, you sure have it easy. Feng Zhozhen laughed, poured a cup of tea for Lin Fan, and asked. How's it? Get used to it already. Master, I'm naturally very accustomed to the situation here. It is an honor for me to come to this place, especially Master and all brothers who have enjoyed themselves as if they have returned to their hometown. I'm enjoying it. Previously, I said that I would go home and work on a farm, but now I don't want to go back anymore. Lin Fan said while smiling. Ha! Lin Fan was already changed before Feng Zhozhen has a chance to scold him. Damn it! What Lin Fan said left Feng Zhozhen speechless for a while. He didn't know what to say. Is that so? Feng Zhozhen stared at Lin Fan with a cheerful expression. He did not expect that the arrogant newcomer disciple saw the only characteristic and the only advantage of Jyotian sect. That was harmony. Really, it is better than anything. After seeing the portraits of the ancestors and hearing their stories, I understand although we don't have many disciples, and the architecture is not as luxurious as other sects, but it was simple and unsophisticated buildings, it has a meaning, that is, low-key. The path to immortality is to suppress your desire and control your emotions. Such luxury will blind us all. All those ancestors were people of great wisdom. Lin Fan tried his best. Feng Zhozhen was speechless once again because of Lin Fan's words. He was thinking, was it really that complicated? The old ancestors also obeyed the previous master, so Feng Jiuzhen believed it, but the building was indeed not very good. He once wondered whether his master lied to him or not. But because of Lin Fan's words, he thought about it again. It seemed to make sense. The architecture has amazing meanings. Ha ha ha. Feng Jiuzhen laughed, covering up the embarrassing expression because of what Lin Fan said, and then looked at Lin Fan's eyes as if Lin Fan wouldn't know what was he thinking. All disciples there could only understand the surface. Yeah, I'm thinking like that too back in the days, and he trained me well and picked me as his successor. At least realize that much, it means that you have extraordinary wisdom. I have decided to accept you as a disciple. When I become an immortal in the future, you will be the new master. Feng Jiuzhen's expression suddenly became serious. Although Lin Fan didn't have the spirit root, he was really good with words, and some of his words were out of the box and made sense. Lin Fan stared at Feng Jiuzhen, shameless. But wait. Accept him as a disciple. The next master. Isn't that too easy? He did not expect that Feng Jiuzhen would accept him as a disciple, and give him the position of the next master. Just how far? Feng Jiuzhen said, Lin Fan, you have to remember that our sect is not an ordinary one. As you said, we have been keeping our priorities to remain low-key for a long time, and the others always look down on us. A master does not always necessarily have to be powerful. After all, low-key is the teaching of our sect. Are you willing to take on such a big task? We will continue to carry forward the low-profile teaching of our sect. Lin Fan looked up at Feng Jiuzhen. He thought that his head was about to burst. And at the same time, he wanted to be stronger. He might be stuck there for a long time, though. Lin Fan bowed his head and instantly changed his expression. When he looked up again, he looked so excited. Lin Fan, want to help master. No way. Straight into the dark pit. Chapter 78. Such horror. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master, I want to see the demons. Where are we now? Lin Fan said to Feng Jiuzhen, and he wanted to see what the demons looked like. Fortunately, he made Feng Jiuzhen very happy. Feng Jiuzhen just agreed to his request without thinking. At that time, he was standing above Feng Jiuzhen's golden dust. And when he was looking down, he saw a plains. He won't notice if the demons were hiding there. This is the Earth Demon Plains. They all live underground, because there is an underground world, extending in all directions. There are many demons inside, there are weak but some is powerful. Now, I will take you to see the underworld, but only at the edge. It will be dangerous if we go too deep, not only because of the powerful demon, but also the magical power in it will erode your body. Go. They flew 12 miles away in a blink of an eye. Feng Jiuzhen began to sound like a master. Soon, Lin Fan saw a crack in the ground in front of him, and bursts of magical gas came out from the crack. Immediately, Lin Fan found that his body wrapped in a golden light curtain. Obviously, Feng Jiuzhen cast a spell, forming a shield with mana to protect Lin Fan from being attacked by that magical chi. He was really excited now. It felt like he was going to fly. Perhaps after that incident, everything will change. Quickly. The underground world was in front of them. Everything looked as usual, but full of magical power in the air. Master, what is going on with that land? Is there some connections with the demons? Lin Fan asked. Feng Jiuzhen answered patiently, nope, the land of the demon is just land, the demon is just the demon. They once live above the ground like us human, but later was suppressed by some things underground. In the final analysis, it is because of the existence at the center. We want to be immortal, but the land of the demon is to be a demon. As for the demons, they are hostile against immortals. They want to be immortal, but because of some ideological problems, they are regarded by immortal as an existence that should not exist in this world. Son, you have to remember that there are many races in the world, not only demons but also many races. Immortal is someone who has a pure heart regardless of what their race is. But the land of the demon is just a matter of strength. The powerful one is who has the final decision. And right now, we are in that kind of land. What I want to tell you is that you can do whatever you want, whether it is the land of the demon or in the sect. No one is right or wrong. If you encounter a demon and you think that demon is a nice person, try to get along, don't be swayed by the world. When Feng Zhouzhen said those things, he looked slightly gloomy, but soon recovered. Master, you are a man with a lot of stories. Lin Fan noticed the change in the master's face and felt that it was true. Otherwise, he would not have such an expression. Feng Zhouzhen paused for a moment, then he laughed. Of course, there are so many stories, there are things you must learn. Well, be careful, don't stay too far away from me to prevent accidents. Lin Fan thought Feng Zhouzhen's act wouldn't deceive him. At that time, Lin Fan followed Feng Zhouzhen and carefully observed the surrounding. For him, that was a good opportunity that God gave him. Suddenly, there was a movement around. Feng Zhouzhen looked dignified. Be careful, there is a demon. Immediately, there was a burst of somber laughter heard from the distance. There are disciples from Immortal again, my luck is really great. A demon appeared, and that demon had 2 horns, covered with black scale armor, walking barefoot, each nail was black and looked so heavy, holding a machete in his hand while looking at Lin Fan and Feng Zhouzhen's eyes. Be careful. Feng Zhouzhen was cautious to the demon, but soon, when he saw the demon, he was relieved and said, Don't be afraid, your master is here, this demon is not a problem. Don't be too nervous. Crazy. For Feng Zhongjiao, he was really nervous. He was afraid to encounter a bunch of powerful demons, but when he saw the demon, he felt relieved. Good God! That demon just a little garbage. He thought that his arrival would attract the strongest among the demons, and he was really frightened. He had to say that he was nervous. Lin Fan looked at the demon. The data instantly appeared in Lin Fan's mind. Little demon. Reshape fate, possible item drop. Earth spirit root. Shard, 230 years worth of cultivation, Earth devil machete, raw spirit, soul breaker sword, spiritualism banner. Lin Fan pondered for a moment. That was a demon who has reached a certain level of cultivation but has not reached the immortal realm, it has cultivation but didn't have mana. Little demon, you are too arrogant. Feng Zhouzhen screamed angrily. He came with his disciples, how could he lose face when he dealt with that kind of demon? The demon was furious, it did not use the sword, but opened his mouth, its tongue stuck out, and something appeared on the tip of the tongue. He saw the demon's movement clearly, something on the tip of the tongue suddenly changed, and turned into a spirit. Souls. Eat them. That demon threw out the soul-crushing maggots from his hands, and suddenly a strong wind was blowing toward Lin Fan and Feng Zhouzhen. Feng Zhouzhen shook his head slightly, and then laughed, Little demon, this soul-crushing maggot is enough to kill average immortal, but in front of me, it is nothing. For Feng Zhouzhen, it doesn't take much effort to deal with such a small demon. Lin Fan felt his body was cold when the demon cast the soul-crushing maggots. So scary. Chapter 79. Here to dominate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At that time, Lin Fan saw Feng Zhouzhen moved in an instant and immediately shouted, Take him down. A sword flew through the demons, breaking the wind barrier of the soul, crushing maggots, and directly chopping off the demon's head. The speed was too fast. The demon's head had already fallen to the ground right when Lin Fan finished his sentence. Lin Fan sighed, and his heart was beating so fast, he wanted to slow the pace a bit. What's the situation? Feng Zhouzhen was puzzled. Didn't Lin Fan realize how powerful he was? The demon has turned into a corpse, which was enough to show how powerful the master was. How could Lin Fan tell Fang Zhouzhen that he wanted to kill the demon himself? He had to rephrase his words. Master, I want to kill that demon before because I want to overcome my fear. Lin Fan said nothing wrong. He couldn't reveal his real reason to kill that demon at all. That will bring problems. What you said makes sense, I will let you finish off the next demon we find. Fang Zhouzhen said. Subsequently, Fang Zhouzhen recruited the intact spirits. Young boy, this will be useful. The demon dropped this treasure, and it can give a foundation of longevity. Magic weapons piqued Lin Fan's interest. He just wanted to kill the demons with his own hands, he didn't really care about anything other than that. Fang Zhouzhen collected the dropped items. He didn't use those things, nor did all people in the sect. He just wanted to sell them for his family. Young boy, you can't use it yet. Otherwise, you will be seen as an evil disciple by others. Fang Zhouzhen said. Yes, master. Lin Fan didn't really care about those things, he just wanted to kill a demon with his own hands and hoped the demon dropped something that will be useful to him. Later, Fang Zhouzhen took Lin Fan around the land of the demon, to the plains. Fang Zhouzhen also told Lin Fan about the situation there. Many disciples will come there to practice. However, they couldn't fight carelessly there. No one knew how many disciples died there. Lin Fan nodded while listening, just to tell his master that he listened properly to what his master said. That information was also important to Lin Fan. When he was strong enough, he could come back there for training. While Fang Zhouzhen prayed so he won't encounter the demon, Lin Fan prayed in his heart that he could encounter the demon as soon as possible. What are you muttering? Fang Zhouzhen was puzzled. Lin Fan has been mumbling ever since they arrived at that place, he couldn't hear it clearly and did not know what Lin Fan was muttering about. It's nothing, I just can't wait to meet the demons. To see if I can overcome my fear or not. Lin Fan was good with words as usual. He preferred to go deeper. Even though he listened to what his master said earlier, he knew that that was basically impossible. His master seemed to be afraid, how could his master bring him in? Suddenly, Lin Fan's eyes lit up, and he saw a shadow in the distance. Master, look, there are demons there. Fang Zhouzhen looked at him, well, that is a group of the earth demons. 4 earth demons in total. I will capture those earth demons for you to overcome your fear. Lin Fan's face turned red with full of excitement. Lin Fan has already missed his chance to kill the previous demon because of his master, but luckily, he got a second chance. When the 4 demons walked, talking to each other. Suddenly, a golden light was coming from afar, the golden light directly wrapped around one of the earth demons, and then the golden light turned and entangled the other 3. That golden light was Fang Zhouzhen's real magic weapon, tied with fairy rope. The earth demons struggled and screamed on the ground, they were frightened, they didn't know what was happening. Young boy, what do you think of this magic weapon? It can capture those demons alive. Fang Zhouzhen's was slightly proud. Fang Zhouzhen showed his magic weapon, which looked like a pendulum. He deliberately showed off in front of Lin Fan to show how amazing he was. Great, as expected of master, you will become my role model in my whole life. Lin Fan's sugar-coated words made his master flustered. Ha ha ha. Fang Zhouzhen smiled brightly. But he didn't see Lin Fan's eyes had already changed when Lin Fan stared at the demons. It seemed like a burning flame. Absolutely. As long as Lin Fan was lucky, he will get something good. Little demon. Reshape fate, possible item drop. Golden spirit root fragment, raw spirit, fast recovery, 220 years worth of cultivation, demon machete, Tao medicine. The demon looked normal, but there was something inside its body. Little demon. Reshape body, possible item drop. Water spirit root fragment, raw spirit, 99 years worth of cultivation, steel fork. Little demon. Reshape fate, possible item drop. Golden Spirit Root Fragment, Raw Spirit, 180 years worth of cultivation, Earthen Fist. Among those 3 demons, 2 of them were strong enough. However, he could see from the possible item drop that little demon who already learned Earthen Fist must have killed the disciples, otherwise, that demon won't be able to learn that technique. The last demon was a bit extraordinary. Earth Demon. Foundation Immortal, possible item drop. Earth Spirit Root Fragment, Raw Spirit, Fast Recovery, 50 years of mana, Treasure Bag, Earth Demon Scale Armor, as expected. Cultivation was not the same as mana. That longevity Earth Demon had 50 years of mana. If he could get it, then his power will drastically increase. Chapter 80. The system is facing a hard time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master, I fear the demon was too strong. Lin Fan shivered with excitement and pulled out his sword swiftly. I'm not panic. The demon is not scary at all. They are only a bit bigger than the ants in front of this master. Feng Zhouzhen saw Lin Fan trembled in fear and distressed. As a master, he must wrap things up cleanly. Lin Fan walked toward the demons, he felt very excited. Whether succeed or failed, it will be determined in just one fell swoop. Young boy, don't force yourself, take your time. Feng Zhouzhen reminded Lin Fan when he saw Lin Fan's efforts to overcome the fear in Lin Fan's heart. Feng Zhouzhen regretted such a good disciple didn't have the spirit root. Master, they are trying to fight back. Lin Fan turned his back and talked to Feng Zhouzhen. He came to the demon with the letters Foundation of Longevity above his head. Just in case, he wanted to kill the strongest first. The demon snarled and struggled, but the magic weapon that tied him became tighter and tighter as he struggled. Lin Fan's hand trembling while holding a sword, he was afraid but at the same time was excited too. Someone helped him to tie the prey and waited for him to kill it. That wouldn't happen for a second time, right? Lin Fan swung his sword fiercely toward the demon. Sword Technique. Twin Sky. The sword's speed was fast, and the sword was glowing with red light as if the sword was burning hot. Boom! The fire flickered. Lin Fan was stunned. It was as if everything was moving in slow motion, and the sword in his hand shattered into countless pieces, scattered in all directions. How is this possible? His 187 years of cultivation only left a mark on the demon's scales. The earth demon was not frightened by Lin Fan's aggressive attack. The demon was just a little dazed. But when the demon saw Lin Fan's sword shattered into pieces, the demon was laughing hard. The demon knew how to escape, but when the demon saw Lin Fan was angry, the demon taunted Lin Fan more. Lin Fan frowned, he understood that spiritual power was useless against mana. And then Feng Zhouzhen approached Lin Fan and handed over a magic sword emitting blue energy. Young boy, don't be discouraged, ordinary weapons are indeed easy to break. This is a magic sword made from the green toad. It can be used to break this demon's scale. He stepped back after he handed over the sword to Lin Fan. When he stepped back, he glanced at the demon, as if to say, laugh as hard as you can, now let's see how you can stop this. The demon suddenly smiled and looked at the sword in Lin Fan's hand. Lin Fan held the green toad sword, but he could not draw out its full potential without mana, but it was no problem as long as he could kill the earth demon. Laugh, keep laughing. Lin Fan noticed that demon was no longer as cheerful as he was earlier. You will die. The demons roared. Swoop. Lin Fan swung the sword as hard as he could, and immediately, the demon's head separated from its body. No resistance. Obtain earth root shards, obtain talent fast recovery, gold, obtained 50 years of mana. It was quiet all of a sudden. But Lin Fan didn't care, because he got what he wanted. Lin Fan pondered for a moment. How will spiritual power and mana merge? However, Lin Fan was not the only one who wanted to solve that problem, the system did too. Lin Fan had to see how the system could solve it. Without the spirit root, he could not be immortal. That was the rule of heaven and earth, and no one could change it. There was no movement. Everything was quiet, and the system seemed to be in a dilemma. Suddenly, his status window has changed. Name: Lin Fan, Spirit Root. None, Realm. Foundation Immortal / half, Initial Realm, Cultivation. 187 years, Mana. 50 years, Martial Arts. Wild Boar Crash, 1st stage, Harvesting, 4th stage, Twin Sun, 3rd stage, Iron Head, 4th stage, Ox Crushing the Mountain, 4th stage, 5. Fold Strikes, 4th stage, Earthen Fist, 4th stage, Footwork. 4 Steps, 4th stage, Talent. Hardening Skin, Black Iron level, Quicken, Pseudo Bronze level, Sharp Edge, Pseudo Gold level, Sprint, Bronze level, Fast Recovery, Gold level, Item. Golden Spirit Root Shard X1, Earth Spirit Root Shard X1 Foot Lin Fan. Lin Fan was confused with the in his status window. He pondered and found a conclusion about how to change it. One was to accumulate the spirit root fragments slowly and synthesize them into the perfect spirit root. Or maybe his spiritual power must reach a certain level before he could discover new paths. But according to what the system meant, it was like saying he couldn't become an immortal at the moment, but that didn't necessarily mean that there was no possibility for him to become an immortal. As long as he could find the missing piece, the system will help him to grow stronger. And there was no problem with his realm. Lin Fan stood there and fell into deep contemplation. Young boy, what's wrong with you? Don't be afraid, your master is here. You have already chopped off the demon's head. Don't tell me you are still afraid. Feng Jiuzhen noticed Lin Fan was standing there stupidly. Master, I just beheaded a demon, and it changes me a little bit. But it's not enough. I don't know if I can kill all the rest of them. Lin Fan said. Now is not the time to think about those things. You have to kill the remaining demons. Feng Jiuzhen said. Get started. Slash. 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 Lin Fan slashed 3 times. Young boy, how are you feeling? Feng Jiuzhen asked. Lin Fan said, I'm a bit better, and it should be more than enough.